You're listening to the Line Sports Talk Podcast, Thursday night, December 15th, 2016. This is our daily fantasy sports edition, covering the majority of your Fan Duel plays. We're going to be a little bit too late for the Thursday night game, but I don't know that anybody's going to care too much about the Rams and the Seahawks. So moving right along, let's do it. Harbor Mike, you're here tonight. Are you there, Mike?
I am there, my brother. How are you?
All right. I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad, brother. Not doing too bad. Apparently, I do not know how to pick kickers or quarterbacks, but I can get you every other spot. So we should relinquish.
Yeah, you filled in the blank pretty well. The kicker quarterback situation kind of got to all of us last week. Last week was
man, wrong again.
Have or have nots again last week.
Yeah, there wasn't too much overall action, and then Russell Wilson doing what he did. We don't even need to relive that.
No, we don't.
Outing. I was totally shocked by that, and then I went with Jameis, and it was just on his end with the Bucks. It was just
the dog.
A Bucks ball. They have new Buck ball 2016 is what we should call it.
Yeah, they really do, and I'm going to caution a lot of folks out there who, especially our Tampa Bay listeners, I think Tampa's a good team. You don't win 5 games straight in the NFL and are not a good football team, but there's a caveat there, man. You're not playing good defenses, and you're not scoring points. That Saints defense is awful, and you're not moving the football. Good luck against Dallas this week. Let's see if Dallas is any good or not. Tampa could go in there and beat them just like they did Kansas City, though. I won't be surprised.
They could, but if they do, I think the only way they do it is with another kind of low-scoring affair because they're not dynamic enough on offense anymore. Where they have one viable wide receiver. Humphreys is like a possession guy that's kind of your Cole Beasley, but again, you can't really rely. The reason why they're not as getting the success on offense is because Doug Martin isn't Ezekiel Elliott. They don't have that line. You'd be seeing
they don't. They're not opening holes for Doug, and I think Doug Martin's a good running back. I heard some criticism in the area recently, but I think he's good. I think that guy would start over in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think he's a weakness per se. It's just you could see how the way that the Bucs offense, it's a little easier to be successful overall if the majority of your offense runs through your running back. It's a little easier, obviously, to open up a hole and run.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, we see the majority of the Bucs offenses going through Mike Evans, and he's obviously arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right now. But when you double cover him because there's nobody to counter him on the other side, you know what I mean? It's real easy.
Yeah, he does not have an X relief. He has nothing, going back in the day, Hall of Famers like Michael Irvin certainly benefited from having Alvin Harper on the other side.
Without a doubt. And
Jerry Rice benefited from John Taylor. Jerry Rice benefited from Tim Brown. Tim Brown benefited from Jerry Rice.
Right, and at least you had to cover Vincent Jackson. And, at least last year he would get some points. Early in the year he was horrible, but he was still
remember
there.
How good that Arizona Cardinals team was with Anquan Bolden on the other side of Larry Fitzgerald?
Yeah, they were awesome. Awesome.
It was a great offense. Very fun to watch. I think they lacked a running game. Edgerrin James was just your I've done this before and won't make mistakes kind of running back. But yeah, different days come, and Larry Fitzgerald comes up as a wide receiver topic for me today. But we'll get to that later on in the show. Trying not necessarily a new format to the listeners out there, but just the idea of we're just about ready to complete our first full NFL season as the Line Sports Talk podcast. We've had a lot of fun this year, but we're going to keep changing and working to make things better, deliver a better product, and deliver a format that's easier for you to listen to. As we look back on everything from the Pick'em show to me and Joey Peeps just bullshitting to Harbor Mike coming in and breaking down fantasy football, it turns out we actually know what we're talking about. And I believe that. I believe that enough to where I'm still not going to consider charging anybody for this information. But I do believe it. I believe you can benefit from listening to us. And I believe you can have a lot of fun playing fantasy sports, playing Sunday Swim and doing the pick'ems. It's fun. We're having a blast, and we really appreciate you guys listening. So our sound effects are all completely shot once again. Let's just hope that the content can bring you an A+ tonight and some winners on Sunday. So, Harbor Mike, without wasting any more time, man, let's get after it.
Let's do it, brother.
Yeah, let's talk about where you want to get started. What kind of contest are we jumping into? Again, we're too late for the Thursday, Saturday. I guess that leads us right to the main lobby on the Fan Duel website. We jump into a Sunday main or 1 p.m. only.
Yeah, I like the Sunday mains more than the 1 p.m. only.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter because my first pick he's at 1, so I guess you could still formulate a lineup with him. If we're going,
okay, let's dig on through.
Yeah, if we're going chalk for QBs, I'm rolling with Aaron Rodgers just because it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't necessarily like the matchup, weather issues possibly. There's so much going on right now, but the matchups I really like. I don't know. They're not the most expensive ones, so I would say him over Matt Ryan. We talked about it off air.
Sure.
That game is just too juicy, and what we mean by that is there's going to be so much scoring going on.
And I just like to say juicy.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. There's going to be so much points, I think, scoring. I think you could see defensive touchdown. I think you'd see multiple scores from maybe even both running backs. I mean, both of them have a chance to go off. So when all that equates to that many less touchdown passes being thrown, not saying Matt Ryan's not going off, but for 8,500, I'd rather go with the guy that doesn't have a running game who's arguably one of the best quarterbacks ever. I don't know if we can say that about Matt Ryan, but we can say that about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you can. I want to interject a projected weather report for Chicago on Sunday.
I'm going to monitor it, but I still think because look what Aaron Rodgers just did in Green Bay, that he's the guy that I'm not going to – him or Ben Roethlisberger, although you saw last week they tended to –
Yeah, Ben had a down day. They just ran the ball. But Chicago on Sunday, you're looking at 17 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity at 51%, wind west-southwest at 13 miles an hour. That's actually good news for Chicago on a Sunday. 13-mile-an-hour wind is nothing.
Okay.
That's nothing for Chicago. That's what concerns me. It's always the wind with a passer. Temperature, Aaron Rodgers plays 8 games a year minimum in Wisconsin. He can deal with shit.
Yeah, you don't even have to look at that. So ideally it would be great in the Dome or it would be great at home, and it would be great if it won Chicago because people think, and we've talked about this before as well, Chicago's not that bad against the pass. So,
no, they're not.
But it's Aaron Rodgers.
It is. Their totals in Green Bay's totals in the last 4 out of 6 games have gone over on the road. This team goes places and scores points. We're walking into a type of time of year where I know it's cold. But, I like the Rodgers play.
Yeah. Everyone else you have issues with. If you look, Breeze at Arizona, we think Breeze is hurt.
I do. I think there's touch on that quickly. He's thrown, 6 interceptions in the last 2 weeks or more than that?
I'll tell you.
Drew Brees. He's severe.
He's thrown 6 interceptions in the last 2 weeks. Gosh, you're good. You're good.
Every now and again, a squirrel finds one.
And no touchdowns. No touchdowns. Second straight game since 2009. There is definitely something going on.
Something's up. Now, a lot of it could be attributed to some of the younger receivers on the field. I'm not convinced Brandon Cooks is that good. I am convinced that Michael Thomas is. Not convinced that guys like Brandon Coleman or Willie Snead are everyday players on other teams. So, something about Drew Brees. Let me just say this real quick about his arm. 6 interceptions, 3 and 3 in the last 2 games. This guy doesn't do that in his career, and I'm telling you, I watched him closely last Sunday. He's making throws, and when his brain sees the play develop, the arm releases the ball, and the ball's not getting there as quick as he needs it to. And that's not mental from Drew Brees. This isn't a guy that makes mental slow decisions or those mistakes. It's not.
Maybe he's got something with his shoulder or his hand.
It's just not firing. And you know what else? It's father time too, man. He is not young. He's not an old man, but by NFL standards, but he's not a spring chicken either. So, something going on with Brees. Yeah,
and then getting on the other guys, you got Brady at Denver. I'm not going to touch that. I think they're going to do more of a ground game to beat Denver. Andrew Luck at Minnesota. He could produce some points because he's kind of on fire right now. He's questionable with his shoulder. I'm sure he's going to play.
Yeah, and I would be afraid to start Luck against that defense. Minnesota's defense is still pretty good.
I would too. And then you have Big Ben at $8,000. I like him, but again, weather's definitely going to be a factor. You saw what they did
7 degrees in Cincinnati this morning.
Yeah, and the difference in price between the top guy, Matt Ryan, by the way, Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers are both 8,500. So if you really were hard up on Matt Ryan's, matchup, you could insert him into an identical lineup and do it without having to think. But you get to this point, they're only $500 from him to Ben. So
from the chalk down, yeah, there really is.
Yeah, they're always so close. So I'm really going with matchups and who's performing, etc. That's one of the main reasons why I came to Aaron Rodgers. But who I really like is your guy. I think also Derek Carr, and I know you're against this, I think Phillip Rivers. And I've seen a few different people say he's going to, don't start him. I'm telling you to start him.
Okay.
I'm feeling
I want us to have converse opinions here. Contrarian opinions. Yeah.
I just the game. There's going to be points are going to be scored. Yeah. I think it's.
I don't know. Rivers has stuck it in my ghoulie here the last 2 weeks with these interception fests. INTs on the road in Carolina. He's at home in San Diego, which I don't even know if they have a home there. I get it. I understand why you'd want to start him. This has got a 300-yard day written all over it. I can't do it.
I feel
Is that a category? Is that a category here on the line? Sports Talk is TL can't do it.
I get it. I get it. I wouldn't. If I was a homer, I wouldn't. Derek Carr's going to have a good game too, providing that his wide receivers can catch the ball.
I think Seth Roberts just dropped a pass right now. I heard it.
And you had mentioned we talked about Crabtree probably being hurt with the finger.
Yeah.
So if he can muscle through that, or if it's something that you had said he'd done it a few times and it seems to affect him less and less each time.
Yeah.
So maybe, but they're going to have to score points. San Diego gives a lot of points as far as touchdowns for running back, but they don't give a lot of yards. So Derek Carr's going to have to do something.
Yeah. I think I anticipate Carr. I want to know more about his finger. I haven't heard much this week, but I do think he'll have a nice day. I have some value picks if we're ready to slide along from quarterbacks, unless you have anybody else to add to the list here.
Yeah, no, the only pick that I really, really like, I guess you could say Colin Kaepernick possibly, but he's a little expensive. Maybe Joe Flacco, but I bet you Philly shuts him down sufficiently enough to.
Do you think so?
It depends on if they've quit or not. I know they're.
Yeah.
If you look, they gave a little trouble to Kirk Cousins, and then he pulled out like 20 points in the Standard League last week.
That's right. Yeah,
but it wasn't 30 points. It wasn't a bomb-ass game. Philly can still ball. So I'm a little
and they've been tough on quarterbacks this year. They just weren't tough on Brady. Brady lit them up. Or I'm sorry, I'm talking about Baltimore rather. Flacco's a play. The guy that I have in mind, and this is a stream play, but Tyrod Taylor, he's not a good passer. He's really not good at much. But against Cleveland, at home, in Buffalo, with Rex Ryan's job on the line, I don't know what Tyrod Taylor and Rex Ryan's relationship is like, but I got a feeling that they have a decent relationship. Tyrod Taylor has got to respect Rex Ryan because Rex is the guy that gave him a chance. Rex is the guy that dealt for him, brought him in, and gave him a shot. If Rex is getting shit canned at the end of the season, this is Tyrod Taylor's chance to be a 1099 and play for the name on the back of his jersey.
Well, and I mean,
I'm a salesman in my everyday life.
Yeah, no, I'd say he's had 4 games over 20 points, and then the rest have just been okay. I mean, it's against Cleveland, and he's cheap. To me, though, if I'm taking that risk, then I'm going with Alex Smith for $6,800.
Okay.
That's who I like. Who's cheap. He's actually the cheapest that I would go this week. I wouldn't really want to venture any cheaper than that for anybody.
No, I think that you got some really inexpensive starters on here. I would start Matt Castle, who isn't even playing, before I would start Robert Griffin III at 6,100. He's your cheapest